New Nvidia GPUs, you might want to hold off on a slice of Android pie. How long should a monitor last? And you sent us so many Chrome extensions to try. It's all coming up on TekThing. TekThing is brought to you by patrons like CM, Damon, Kabi, and Joshua. Without their support and your support via patreon.com/TekThing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you each and every week. If the show makes your life easier and your tech more secure, if you like what we do, head on over to patreon.com/TekThing and give a little something back. Please.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patty Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
Oh my goodness.
Yay!
Breathe.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I just get so excited.
The rumors were true. Nvidia announced their new consumer GPUs, the RTX 2080 Ti, 2080, and 2070, which use Nvidia's Turing architecture to bring real-time ray tracing to consumer desktops, along with the best tensor cores to run deep learning super sampling, quote, technology that applies deep learning and AI to rendering techniques, resulting in crisp, smooth edges on rendered objects in games. As in the kind of gorgeous you get from temporal anti-aliasing, but at frame rates north of 60 frames per second at 4K resolutions.
Oh my gosh.
They are not cheap.
Nope.
But Shannon has been hands-on with the 2080, or I guess we should say the 20 series RTX GPUs.
The 20th series. The ones that I got to see were the 2080 and 2080 Ti. So those were the ones that I got to play with.
The fastest and most expensive.
They were beautiful. So last week at Gamescom, I co-hosted the live event coverage for Nvidia's event and their keynote as well, which was super fun. So I got to see the 2080s in action when I got to play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the brand new Tomb Raider game. I saw Battlefield 5. I saw Metro Exodus. They were all showing off this brand new technology called ray tracing, which is now available in those consumer GPUs on machines with 2080s in them, which was awesome.
We should probably point out that ray tracing is not a new technology, but having ray tracing in real time on GPUs, very new concept.
That's exactly right. It's really, really, really very gorgeous, and the game's played so smoothly, and I just had a blast being able to watch this stuff. So if you're interested, ray tracing will calculate how the lighting is going to hit certain types of borders and barriers and how it's going to bounce around the screen, even for things that are not actually shown on the screen in front of your eyeballs. So things like shadows, reflections, global lighting. It's never been done for those consumer-grade GPUs because the processing power, it just did not exist. It wasn't technologically possible, or it costs way too much money.
So there's not a huge list of games with RTX yet. Like, developers have to basically build this into their games. They have a fair amount to do to bring RTX to titles, but the question is, do you want to see it on more games? Was it that much more enveloping? Did it make you practically weep? Now, I know before you email, yes, Nvidia paid her to host the event, but at her core, Shannon is a gamer. I mean, how many hours did you play on your Switch on the flight over?
Oh, you don't even want to know. Pretty much the whole time.
Before takeoff?
Yeah.
Until landing?
Oh, of course.
Uh-huh.
What was I doing in my hotel room every single night?
So I'm just saying, I understand, but
the reason why Nvidia hired me for this is because I'm a true gamer at heart, and it's something I've been doing since I was a kid. So I was very passionate, and I was really excited to be a part of their team there.
So, I mean, you recently upgraded to a 1080, and you're sitting there in Cologne at Gamescom. You're getting your next-gen Tomb Raider on. What'd you think? What did it look like?
Tomb Raider was gorgeous. I've played all the other Tomb Raider games in the past, and this was the first time that I've gotten to see this ray tracing technology in person. Of course, you see the trailers and you're like, oh, wow, shiny things, but let's see some real-time graphics. The
trailers are always ooh, wow, and shiny.
Exactly, yeah. You always see like all this shininess in the trailers, but what does it actually look like when you get on a computer and you're playing it in front of your face, in front of your own eyeballs? So I only got to play this one demo part that they had going on those computers, which they only allowed you to play for like 30 minutes. I only got about 15 minutes because I was also working the event. But in my time, I was able to see Lara Croft, and she was going into this really big cave, which was lit. It was illuminated with a whole bunch of torches. And the torches were creating these awesome effects with her shadow behind her and how it changed depending on which way you turned. And the way that the shadow looked on the ground was realistic comparative to real life. So it didn't like turn into just a dark blackness with no curves or anything like that. It turned into like actual different shades of lighting as you look closer at the like middle part of her shadow.
I'm giggling because I'm imagining all of your spelunking with torches, you know.
I know, right?
But I get it, like, because flames are hard to do, reflections.
Yeah. I even saw the same thing when you, in the cave, you end up in this big watery area and you have to dive under to get to the next part. It took me a long time to figure out how to dive. But while I was in there, I noticed that the way that the bounce happens off of the torches onto the water was extremely fascinating, just seeing how realistic it looked. Like, it looked like you were watching a video from some like 4K Sony camera or something.
I mean, that's part of the challenge here, right? Because if you've ever watched a cutscene, which is ray traced, and then you've gone to the game and you've been, ugh,
yep.
The idea is to make to going from the cutscene to the game, or to just actually not have a cutscene, to be able to render the whole thing, to have it look that amazing the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, we may have mentioned these are not cheap. If you take a look at the slide right here on my screen, you can order the Founders Edition GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. It's $1,200. The 2080 is $800. The 2070 is $600.
Yep.
And of course, these are prices. Well, these are Founders Edition prices, which means we can expect a non-Founders Edition, which is going to cost less money. They're basically coming from everybody who makes GPUs. And there's not a lot of performance information, but this is the big slide that NVIDIA was pushing. Figure the 2080 is 150% of the performance of a 1080, and that's the dark green line right here. And if you add in that super slick deep learning super sampling, you start getting up into the 200% range, which is what they were talking about. We're going to see pre-orders are now.
Yep.
Cards are shipping on the 20th. Judging from the conversations I've had, nobody's going to get a card before the 20th, as in everybody's going to wake up at like whatever time they get the card and start benchmarking and just start pumping out articles on them. Maybe they'll seed some cards early. Very curious to see how the prices drop when the non-Founders Edition cards ship, and if NVIDIA drops the process a few nanometers in 2019. I feel like this is a 2019-ish upgrade for me.
Yeah, same. I mean, I just bought my 1080.
Right.
So, and given that there aren't a whole bunch of different video games that it's currently playable in, I just got that thing installed. I mean, I really just want to spend my money on like colorful RGB power cables, which you just showed me earlier today. So I'm all about that right now. But
more unicorn puke.
There's no sense in me purchasing a 2080 right now when I just upgraded.
Who knows? You make it, you know, you may buy Tomb Raider, you may start playing, and then you may be like...
Tomb Raider's awesome. But the thing is, you can play Tomb Raider on older technology too. It works on 1080 as well. And RTX is something that you can turn on or off in the game. It's cool because you can enable it if you have the power in your computer. So like you have the RAM and the CPU and all that as well. So you can turn it on or off. I don't need the 2080 immediately.
But will you covet
I want it.
Yeah, there we go.
I totally want it. But that's another thing, is currently the video games that it's available in, starting off, are only like 20 different games. They only showed 3 at the event that NVIDIA was doing at Gamescom, but they listed out during the keynote like 20 different ones. There are several in there that I didn't see, like I don't think Fortnite was in that list, and a few of the other ones, but there were some popular games in there too, like, you know, Battlefield 5. That's going to be a big one.
Are you running Fortnite on your Android phone, on your Pixel?
Nope. I have a reason for that too. You should check out my ThreatWire episode for that.
Oh my goodness. Are you excited about GPUs? You thinking about upgrading? Did you just realize the GPU prices are back down?
Yay.
Let us know at TekThing on the Twitter, or email us ask@tekthing.com. I got a tip for you. If you want to make your monitor last longer, turn it off at the end of the day.
What?
At the very least, do not leave a screensaver running when you aren't using your monitor. Seriously, leaving...
Oops.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. My old office, there was always like, we need to reduce power consumption.
Yeah.
And I would always laugh because I would walk through and there was like 50 monitors, and 48 of them would be on, and the 2 at my desk would be off. Yeah. Seriously, leaving images, doesn't matter, images, video, whatever. If you leave your monitor on, like with a screensaver 24 hours a day, that is the best thing you can do to minimize monitor life. I get ahead of myself. When I reviewed Dell's ultra-thin monitors earlier this year, I was shocked at the colors and brightness. Of course, this is a picture of it looking incredibly thin because it's an incredibly thin monitor. But it was actually gorgeous. Given that it's an HDR monitor, shouldn't be that surprising. Monitor technology isn't just resolution and curves or thinness, it's advanced advances in panel technology, brightness, color gamut. But the thing that hit me when I put the ultra thin side by side with an ultra sharp I'd had for several years, all I could think was the ultra sharp used to look really, really good.
Oh, but it didn't anymore.
Was it always this dull? Was kind of the thought that came to mind. And the truth is no, but it was never quite as bright. And there's a couple things going on. First up, monitor technology improves over time. But most people don't actually look at new monitors pretty regularly. It's kind of like when you're running, like you've had that system for 3 or 4 years, and it's great because you've had it for a while, and that system's great. And then you go and you use like my machine or Shannon's machine or your buddy's machine or the guy who just got a new machine down the hallway, and you're like, oh, it's so much faster.
That's how I felt when one of my friends upgraded to an SSD years ago.
Yeah. And you're just sitting there like, I didn't know things could be this awesome. So it got me wondering, though, how much of it is the monitors decaying over time or aging over time, and how much of it is kind of like things getting new? So I asked Dell, does a monitor have a lifespan? How long should a monitor last? How fast do they age? And much to my delight, Dell actually answered my questions. And while most folks really tend to think if the monitor still runs, it's good, I've been that guy.
Yeah, me too.
She's been that gal. If you leave a monitor with an LED backlight on 24/7, the monitor's luminescence, think of how bright it is going to drop by 50% in 3.5 years.
Wow.
If you leave it running 24/7. That's enough of a drop that consumers can detect it with the naked Mark I eyeball. And of course, as the monitor brightness dims, as the luminance dims, contrast will drop, or essentially the amount of contrast it offers decreases, and the color accuracy is going to be impacted.
Oh.
So, as I mentioned before, very little of which I noticed until my old monitor sat side by side with a new monitor.
Yeah.
In the meantime, like my U3415W was off in a corner just being like, yeah, you got me. You stopped looking at the old one, and you got a new one, and you went back to the old one, and you went, ugh! But the old monitor was really kind of painful to look at. I have friends that regularly calibrate their monitors because they do critical color work. And one gave me the very gentle, you're an idiot that does not know the obvious stare. Of course, I also don't have Pantone colors memorized, so yeah, take that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but it's like, if you don't though, if you aren't regularly calibrating your monitor and you primarily work in spreadsheets or in Word or you browse the web, or you're not like Robert Heron where he's like,
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
With the super professional color stuff.
Yeah, but even without his super professional color stuff, Robert will sometimes look at a monitor and be like, give me the remote, and then fix a few things. So TLDR, if you want your monitor to last, turn off the screensaver, shut it down at night, don't leave it running 24/7, and Dell added, don't leave the brightness and contrast settings at 100%, because if you do leave them at 100% and you leave it on 24/7, that's the worst possible scenario because you're going to wear that LED backlight out faster.
Yeah.
And hey, think about upgrading your monitor. It's amazing how useful an ultra-wide screen can be. I paid for mine out of pocket. I will never go back to 1080p.
Same.
I will, however, keep using my 6-year-old Dell Ultra Sharp, just not on the machine I need to do Photoshop on, because, the reds aren't so red and the blues aren't so blues.
Aww.
And yeah, well, but it's interesting to realize that a lot of stuff we never pay. I mean, I've been reviewing keyboards and monitors forever because they're two things that absolutely impact you every time you use a computer. But boy, I was kind of like, wow, this monitor is a little long in the tooth.
That's really cool, though. I'm glad you learned something new.
I was fascinated. I was really, really fascinated.
Good information for us to share.
Quick shout out to Dell. Thank you for the access to your product manager and the engineers who answered my questions. I really, really appreciate that. They were lovely to talk to. We love monitors. We talk about them all the time. If you're thinking about upgrading for gaming or work, email ask@TekThing.com or tweet @PatrickNorton or @TekThing. We love your questions, your tips, and your suggestions of products and ideas to check out. Share them with us. Tweet @TekThing, @Snubs, or @PatrickNorton, or just email ask@TekThing.com. And a big shout out to our patrons at patreon.com/TekThing. You pay the bills, you make the show possible. Our thanks to you. Join the crew that makes TekThing happen at patreon.com/TekThing. And thank you so much for supporting TekThing, no matter how you do it.
Android 9 Pie has just been officially released, and this one is a rather big update. The entirety of the operating system now has this very minimalist approach, which, I'll be honest, spoiler alert, is kind of annoying if you are a power user, like some of us are in this office space.
I am not an Android power user, and I do not have Pi, but I do find some of the choices in Android to be startling and painful. Okay, I'm just going to say it right now.
Yeah.
Your reaction to the volume controls inside of Pi just was like my reaction to the current volume control situation in Android 8, I guess.
Which is so funny, because I love those volume controls, and now I'm stuck with these new ones, and I was just like, but I feel like I'm jumping the gun here. So for starters, the navigation bar, that's the first thing I'm going to start with. And I'll just like walk you through all the little differences that they added in here. The navigation bar is updated with new gesture controls to swipe between apps. And it's actually pretty useful. This has to be turned on by the user, so it's not on by default. You just go into your settings to turn it on. But swiping up brings up the recent apps plus a prediction bar. And that prediction bar has recently or commonly used apps that the AI thinks you might want to access.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can also swipe up again for your app drawer, or you can swipe right and left to really quickly navigate to other applications that are open in the background. The app launcher drawer has this new action based on recent usage that you can click on, and more actions and abilities are going to be added as apps get updated too. So currently there's not very many that this is available for. The navigation bar at the bottom only has a home button now and a back button, and that's it. They used to have a third button too, but now that one only shows up when it's needed in applications. However, none of my applications seem to have a need for that functionality, so I never see the third button anymore. It's definitely minimalist. It's a little weird. Now I use that middle button to switch to my other apps that are open in the background, and that's been a little bit hard for me to get used to, but I'm doing it. So it's available. It's there. Notifications are updated to feature more inline information without the need to open the application. Like, for example, there's multiple lines of text for conversations in Signal. And I actually thought that was really cool. And then I can reply right in the notifications, which is also really cool. And there's a more powerful experience for the user. So for example, if you continually swipe away a notification because it's annoying and you never use it from some kind of certain app, Android 9P, the AI, is going to ask if you want to change that app's settings because it notices you have that pattern of action. You never want to see it, so it's going to ask you, do you just want to remove this notification?
That seems remarkably intelligent.
It is intelligent. It's actually really cool. So anytime it's asked me, I'm like, oh, actually, yeah, I can just turn that off. I don't need it. Thanks, Android. Thank you. Now, there is one big con for me. The status bar up at the top moves around and it changes. So at the top, you have the time, the battery indicator, the Wi-Fi, the LTE bars, and notifications. The Wi-Fi and LTE, what?
I just want to say, like, notifications in Android is one of the worst things I've ever seen because, well,
you have to customize it.
Yeah, I just started using Android again, and I looked down and there was like 17 notifications.
Yeah, dude.
And I was like, oh, wait, what?
That's why I'm like constantly on my phone because notifications bug me. So the Wi-Fi and LTE bars both move down whenever you swipe down into your quick menus. They just disappear from the status line and they go into your quick menu. And I was just like, that's weird. And the clock also moved. It used to be on the right side, and now it's on the left side. So I keep on looking for the clock every time I'm on my phone.
Only when you swipe down?
I can never find it. No, they moved it completely. So it used to be up here. Now it's over there. Why did they do that? It's annoying. So the quick settings menu intelligently changes from white to dark gray depending on your wallpaper. My wallpaper, for example, right now is super light, so it's also a white background. But I can also change this in the settings, or it will intelligently change for me to a dark background if I have a dark wallpaper. That's kind of cute.
That's cute, but you said they pulled out some of the settings features that you actually use.
They did. So annoyingly, I have to open the entire settings menu to access things like the volume for all items, or changing the Wi-Fi networks, or changing what I'm connected to in Bluetooth and stuff like that, which I used to be able to just access in the quick settings.
I'm sure I'll figure out a way to make it faster, but I was laughing because I needed to go into airplane mode.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I gotta slide down and I gotta go into settings and I gotta slide over here and now I can go there. Really? Really, Android? Shannon.
I can I can now search the settings menu, which is actually super useful, especially if you download a ton of apps like I do. So for example, if I'm looking for an app like TripIt. So I'll just type in TripIt at the top, and then it will find it for me, and then I can just click on it. It'll do that pretty intelligently. There's also app actions, which are useful tasks that you can use by just holding down on an app and then dragging it onto your home menu, for example. So I have incognito mode, which automatically opens for my Chrome tabs. So that's kind of cool, and it is also quite intelligent. Those can learn about habits based on time of day and usual usage. So you can also drag and drop them, like I said, onto your home screen. 9Pi also has a slew of graphical updates too, not just, making things change in the menus. Things look smoother, they look a lot more refined. It's faster to switch between apps, especially with the gesture controls with that home button now. There's also the ambient locked display on Pixel, which has changed a little bit in what is shown on there. It includes new icons for anything running in the background, which I thought was very useful in case I forget, like I have a YouTube video paused in the background or something. My ambient display will now show that to me. The AI will also now turn down or up the brightness based on how you usually interact with brightness settings for any given lighting situation.
That's
so
cool.
It's not just going to be based on how bright it thinks it needs to be, given like how bright
But
it is
how
outside,
bright you
but
make
how bright
it,
I normally make it.
despite what it wants.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the most anti-Apple thing ever, and I
It's
support
so very.
that. Yeah.
It's really cool. Now onto the side buttons, which you can see over here, the home and the volume controls. So holding down on power now has this screenshot option, which is really cool. Screenshotting pulls up a notification at the top of the screen, which honestly has gotten in my way a lot and is really annoying. And you can edit your screenshots a lot easier now. You just click on edit through the notifications, and then you can use a little markup tool straight from the notification. So you can circle things, you can use like a little pen to write things down on that screenshot or whatever, which has been available similarly on Galaxy lines of phones, but it's kind of cool to have that so easily available through the home button. So I think that's a pretty cool update. But those volume buttons, that's another big con for me and probably my least favorite update. The volume and sound changes. So the volume rocker controls media by default, and it requires a second click to fine-tune each of your different options. So that includes your call, media, notifications, and alarms. Now on the older operating system, where are you going?
Oh, I'm just contemplating how that's completely different. You could keep going.
Okay. The older operating system has the little top drop-down menu, and that lets you customize each of those settings without opening the entire settings app. Now with that said, it is easier to find and hold these with one hand and mess with the volume controls on the side than it was to pull up the top drop down with my small hands on this big Pixel XL phone. So in that case, it's a lot easier for me to just hit this and then slide up and down. But if I need to go in and customize stuff, now I have to click into the full settings and then go in and change all the volume controls, which has been very annoying because I've constantly used that from the top drop down menu in previous operating systems.
So conceivably, you might eventually get used to the new volume layout.
Probably.
Conceivably. You would have no choice, probably.
Still annoying.
Has it been stable?
No, it hasn't actually. Yeah.
I asked because
I've had issues.
Not the first person I've heard say this.
Yeah, I've had issues with apps crashing. So like Twitter was crashing whenever I wanted to upload a photo with my tweet, which is all the time. Starbucks kept giving me errors when I tried to log into my registered card. So like I got to Starbucks and I was like, I can't log in. I was so embarrassed, and I was just like, so I tweeted at Starbucks without a picture because Twitter was going to crash.
If you tried to upload one.
Yeah, so both of these occurred for about a week and a half, but now they're fine. Now they seem to work okay.
So the apps are probably
I'm guessing
updated?
that the apps probably got updated. So if you just update to 9P now, you may experience similar issues with other apps, but I would say give it time because they'll probably be updated. Digital well-being is not necessarily something that I can show you, but it is brand new. This includes new detailed information on how long you use your phone, and it also updates the do not disturb options, which I can show you with more customization underneath the hood. Google is taking this really active approach to helping you learn about your smartphone addiction. For example, I learned that I watch a lot of YouTube. Like yesterday, it was like 2 hours of YouTube, which is way too much YouTube. And I say that as a YouTuber.
Average American household has the television on how many hours a day?
I know, right? Oh. So my favorite thing that they have changed, and this is such a little small teeny tiny thing, is text selection magnifier. This has been missing all my life, but I love the fact that I can now magnify when I hold down and click somewhere in text, and I can see exactly where my little cursor is. I love this so much. I didn't know that this was missing all my life, but it was, and I'm so happy that it exists now, and I can never let it leave me.
I have a theory that as the average age of an engineer working on a product hits a certain point, all of a sudden the ability to use things with tiny text goes way up.
It's true.
Oh.
The battery now tells me when it's going to die. If it's low, it'll say, based on your average usage, this will last until 10 p.m. And then I'm like, oh, cool, I should probably charge it because I plan to be awake until after 10 p.m.
Watching YouTube videos.
Watching YouTube videos. Adaptive battery is also completely new. So this limits the battery usage for apps that are rarely used or apps that are running in the background, which is really, really cool. I like that they have included that. And it's supposed to help the battery, but I haven't noticed that much of a difference, probably because I was using it constantly and I was on LTE during Gamescom. So I need to use it at home to really know if adaptive battery actually helps. Dual cameras are officially supported as well as notch support. That's going to be supported, a little notch at the front.
I wonder why.
And I know, right? I wonder. And there's also new emoji, yay. There's also better indoor navigation, woohoo! So that's pretty useful. There's also updated privacy and security updates. Apps no longer snoop on your mic, your sensors, or your camera when in the background. Also for privacy, your MAC addresses are now random. So MAC addresses are the unique identifier for your phone. So it's much harder to track across different like access points if you're jumping from one to another, which is a great thing given that, you know, Wi-Fi pineapples exist. Notifications will pop up.
Advertising services that are trying to collate your behavior across different locations to figure out other ways to target you with ads.
Yay! Notifications will pop up for any app that is requesting information that is outside of the norm. Cloud backups and restores, as I mentioned on a previous episode of TekThing, are also encrypted, which is very cool. And lastly, of course, if you go into your system and then go down to About Phone and click on the version and then click on the version number, you get a little Easter egg. So yay, there's a little Android 9 right there. It doesn't look like a pie, to be honest, but it's cute anyway. It looks kind of weird. So yeah, that's there. I am taking a few of the updates as clues or confirmations of what we can expect from the Pixel 3, like notch support tells me that there will probably be a camera notch, like the rumors suggest.
Given that a case of what appears to be, you know, Pixel 3s showed up being sold online by a Ukrainian and have since been unboxed all over the place on the internet, I feel the notch is confirmed at this point. The biggest notch ever. A full 30% of the phone is notch.
No,
I'm kidding.
The minimalist on-screen buttons on the bottom makes me think that there's going to be a huge emphasis on a near bezel-less screen, but also they might still be keeping that front-facing speaker, which is a yay from me. You can expect a review of the Pixel 3 from me when pre-orders start. I do intend to buy one with my own monies in October when they are officially announced so that I can bring this on the show for you. But I want to know if you think that 9Pi is awesome, if you think it's meh, or if you think it like totally sucks, or if you've even gotten it yet, because I know a lot of people probably haven't.
If you're an Android user and you pretty much figure you'll never get 9. Let us know what you think about that.
At Snub or ask@tekthing.com. Give me all your questions, all your advice, and all your opinions on Android 9Pi. I would love to know.
Your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations.
Also, what is your favorite pie? I would love to know that as well.
Strawberry
Key lime.
rhubarb.
We shared some of our favorite Chrome extensions last week, and y'all thankfully sent us some of yours. So this first one is from Mr. Protocol, who tweets, oh, hi, Mr. Protocol. At TekThing, if you haven't tried this extension, give it a try. Your eyes will thank you, and it's called Dark Reader.
Dark Reader.
Ooh.
So Dark Reader is a really, really simple extension. So if you're looking at, so this is like a typical web page. I'm up on Chrome. There's a lot of white. There's a lot of bright white that
it's
hurts.
so beautiful.
And if you click on Dark Reader, dun dun dun. Normally you would leave it on and let it do its thing, but ding.
Dude.
Yeah.
What?
Yep. It makes a night-night mode for all the websites.
Whoa.
I thought I was following Mr. Protocol. In any case, you get the idea.
Oh, that is so cool.
Oh my goodness. Dan emailed, I use way too many add-ons. I use a lot of browsers, but lately I've been playing with Vivaldi on desktops, which is the spiritual successor to my previous favorite browser, Opera. Vivaldi includes a lot of stuff out of the box, and normally you have to install add-ons for on other browsers, but also runs Chrome add-ons. Some of my go-tos for Vivaldi include MuBlock and Privacy Badger, just like you guys. Bitwarden, I find it a bit more flexible and open than LastPass. Authy, two-factor codes for my browser. Join, a service which allows me to push links, text, and notifications between my browsers and Android devices, all hosted in encrypted format on my Google Drive. Very useful. Pocket for saving articles to read later, and OneNote, which allows me to clip all sorts of work stuff that I might refer to later. Thanks for all the cool tips, TekThing. I've been a fan of Patrick since I was a kid watching DLTV after school. Glad I can be a Patreon supporter now that I'm all grown up.
Oh, Dan, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
I was also watching him on TV. Is that weird?
You know, it's better to know that people were watching than I was casting into a void and no one was at the other end.
That's true.
Call me crazy.
It also shows our age difference.
Yeah, you were in high school too.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Lucas emailed a list that included Flash Video Downloader, Ghostery, Privacy Ad Blocker, the Camelizer, and I think we'll have some more next week too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, if you've never seen, by the way, if you've never used Camelizer on your desktop, so you've got like a typical page on Amazon, and you click on the Camelizer, and it tells you that, wow, the price on this never really changes, does it?
Wait, it's camel in an app?
Yes.
That what?
In an extension. So, well, okay, so let's do...
I am downloading that.
660...
So I can buy those RGB cables at a cheap price.
Yes. Oh, look, there's an 860 Evo, and...
Oh, yeah, those change all the time.
Let's look at a 1 terabyte capacity, because, wow, 1 terabyte for $177.99. And in case you're wondering, yes, that's a lot less expensive than it used to be.
Oh, that is cool. Okay, I'm happy about that one.
And a big thank you to Hack5 for the studio space. If you haven't seen them, ladies and gentlemen, Darren Kitchen, Shannon Morris, Security and Privacy Podcast, where do you go? Hack5.org. And once you're done watching a few podcasts and getting yourself all securityed up, go over and take a look at hack5.org/gear, where you will find all the superior pen testing USB automation tools available from Hack5. And keep an eye on this website, ladies and gentlemen, for a new release in the near future.
Uh-oh.
That's all I can say.
What could it be?
I don't know, actually.
P.S. If you're in the Oakland area and you are free tonight, as Thursday, this week, as the day that this episode posts, then you can come down to Oakland and come to our little event for the new release.
That new release.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking of a different release, but maybe I'm thinking of the same release. This is all very complicated, but go to hack5.org/gear and you will learn all about it, probably by the time you're watching this episode.
And if you want to find out more about that meetup too, you can just check out @Snubs. I tweeted it out.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, once in a while, put down the phone, step away from the screen, close the laptop, and do something analog, like teach your husky to read.
Aww.
Okay, maybe go take your dog for a walk. If you can't see there, we have a random scriber of poetry in my neighborhood again. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Gandhi in the chalk on the sidewalk.
That's
in
really
the hood.
cool.
We used to have in Dogpatch in San Francisco, where we used to work with Version 3/Discovery, there was somebody who used to do these amazing screeds. Sometimes 25 or 30 feet long.
Whoa.
Yeah, they were pretty
That's really cool.
They were like ground them into the sidewalk.
That's cool.
Cool. I mean, I never actually saw the person scribing them into the ground. I suspect I probably would have crossed the street because there was a certain feral intensity to the inscriptions. But they were always fascinating to read.
That's really cool.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morris.
We'll see you next week on TekThing. What was the funnest thing in Did you have a buttered pretzel for breakfast? You did?
Yes, I did.
Good.
I did. It took me a moment. It was from the hotel, so it wasn't that great. It was a little
I told you,
dry.
you have to have it in a train station. You gotta go. There's like baked
I didn't even
goods
go
in
to
every
the train
station.
station.
Oh!
I had 2 free days, but I did go to see the Dom, the Dom, whatever you call it. I'm also pressing buttons because I have a button switcher up here. So
Button switcher!
Yeah, look what I can do.
And then you whacked yourself in the face with it. So many buttons.
Look what I can do.
Also works for keyboard commands in your favorite gaming system.
Da, 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 da,
Email
da,
ask@tekthing.com
da,
if you're
da,
curious to see
da.
what we're talking about. X keys.
It's actually kind of fun, but I feel like I'm gonna break it if I touch it too many times.
Whack, 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 whack. Funnest thing in Germany.
Funnest thing in Germany. It was probably Gamescom.
Okay. Funnest thing that would be German and not sort of international
Drinking
video
beer
gaming.
at 10 a.m. and it being normal.